What's up, Revivalists? How's it going? It's Simon here from CD Revival, and this week's ranking, I'm going to do the band Motley Crue, formed in LA in the early 80s. A legendary band, not necessarily for their amazing musical abilities, but certainly for their sort of hell-raising capabilities and just general hijinks that they've done throughout the years. Say a lot of people might say style over substance, but I think, you know, all of their albums have got some merits. I think they're all fairly decent, to be honest with you. There's none that I think are like complete shite. So we'll go through the ranking. They've done 9 studio albums, and I'll be ranking them from my least favourite to favourite, starting off with number 9. My least favourite of the Motley Crue albums is Generation Swine, which was their 7th album from 1997. This was like Vince Neil obviously left for an album and then returned for this one. Yeah, a bit of a different style, similar to the one that came before it, really, with a sort of a more experimental style. Scott Humphrey produced this one, and it's, you know, it's not completely awful. There's some quite good tracks on there. I think Afraid was the single, that's a really good one. Flush I do enjoy as well. Generation Swine, the title track, is quite cool. Rat Like Me, they do a redone version of Shout at the Devil 97, which probably didn't need to be done, to be brutally honest. Tommy Lee sings a couple of songs on here. The last track, Brandon, is dedicated to his son. It's not particularly spectacular either. There's a few tracks on there which are just generally poor, like Glitter, for example, I'm not a great fan of at all. But I say, it was the return of Vince. They didn't sell a lot with the one without Vince on it, which we'll come to shortly. So they got him back in, and this one did even worse sales wise, so wasn't exactly the wisest move, but I think they've done better stuff since this one, obviously, because this is my bottom one. But yeah, pretty disappointing album, not the greatest. You can't live without it, to be honest with you. So that's my number 9, Generation Swine, their 7th album from 1997. My number 8 is the only one that I don't have on physical format, and that is New Tattoo, which is their 8th album from 2000. Mike Clink produced this one, and it's got the only one with Tommy Lee not on the drums. They've got in Randy Castillo, rest in peace, for the drums on this one. And yeah, it's you know, I think it's all right, actually. It's a bit more traditional than Motley Crue. Hell on High Heels is yeah, a really good opening track. I think the title track, New Tattoo, is pretty decent. It's got a cover of White Punks on Dope on there. But generally speaking, I do enjoy it more than Generation Swine. And it has got a smattering of decent songs on there, but still not their best. It's a bit of a cut above Generation Swine, just because it's a bit more traditional Motley Crue, and I think I don't mind bands changing their style. But with a band like Motley Crue, you kind of, I don't know, a lot of the glam bands decided to sort of change it up when, you know, glam became not fashionable, and now they're sort of, you know, a lot of them have gone back to what they were doing, like, you know, 20 years later or what have you. And say Motley Crue, they did change their style, and I think they probably should have just stuck to their guns, and, you know, they probably would have got a bit more respect for it, and especially nowadays. But anyway, babbling. New Tattoo, number 8, not great, but, you know, with some good tracks on it. With some good tracks on it. Number 7, I've got the self-titled Motley Crue album, which was their 6th album. This one came out in 1994. Bob Rock does produce this one. John Corabi on vocals took over from Vince Neil. Otherwise, it's the standard Mick Mars, Nikki Sixx, Tommy Lee. A lot of people really like this album, and honestly, John Corabi is a better vocalist or a better singer than Vince Neil. He's got a better range, just a stronger voice generally. But the songs, I say, they've changed the Motley Crue style. They're heavier, they're more, you know, down-tuned, more grungy, I suppose you would call it. And there's some, you know, decent ones on here. It's not a bad album. Power to the Music starting track is good. Uncle Jack's a good one as well. Hooligan's Holiday, which was the first single, that's a decent one. Probably the best ones are like Poison Apples and Hammered. They're both really cool tracks. Smoke the Sky is a good one as well. Probably feel a bit sorry for John Corabi because he just got kicked out just because the sales on this weren't particularly good. But, you know, if you're in a band like Motley Crue, your fans expect a certain style, I guess. And you know, their style had gone out of fashion, don't get me wrong, but you know, to do something completely, you know, different singer, you know, you're going to lose anyone that wasn't into Motley Crue is not going to be automatically like, whoa, Motley Crue, and people that did like Motley Crue are going to be like, do you know what, this is not really the same. So you can expect a drop off in sales. But yeah, not a bad album. It's a decent professional sounding album. John Corabi, good singer, but you know, only lasted one album. Probably still a bit bitter about this to this day, but hey ho, that's my number 7, Motley Crue from 1994. My number 6, debut album Too Fast for Love, 1981, self-produced by the band. This is the remastered version, and yeah, some good tracks on here. Very sort of, you know, Vince's voice is pretty horrible on it. The production's not fantastic, but it's got some classic tracks on it like Live Wire, Come On and Dance I really like, Take Me to the Top, Piece of the Action. These are all classic ones. Yeah, there's this one, the remastered version has also got Toast of the Town re-added to it, which was on the original Leather Records release, I think, and a few other bits as well. Things like Stick to Your Guns, which I think was on the original one as well. So worth getting that. Public Enemy number 1. There's no bad tracks on here, once again. Merry Go Round's probably my least favourite, but iconic cover, and a good start, really raw sound, but maybe a little bit too raw, I think, and say Vince doesn't sound great on this album at all. But you know, a decent album, just not, you know, not quite in my top 5. So a lot of people love it, say it's their best album, but you know, they're people that are, you know, like everyone's first albums, and after that they sold out because they went, you know, anyway. Babbling once again. Too Fast for Love, number 6. That's their first album from 1981. My number 5, Theatre of Pain. This is from 1985. This is their third album. Tom Verman produced this one. This one gets quite a lot of hate, I suppose, for being like commercial, and they went all glam and blah blah blah. I like the glam sound, you know what I mean? Not just from Motley Crue, but I like those sort of out of the glam albums of the mid 80s. I was sort of like teenager at that time, so that was kind of my jam, although I did like the thrash era as well. But yeah, this was probably the first Motley Crue album I think I really heard, and so therefore, you know, I'd probably rate it higher than a lot of people might. But yeah, I really like it. Good tracks on here. City Boy Blues, I think, is a really good opener. Smoking in the Boys' Room is super cheesy. Obviously, it's a cover, and I used to really like it. It's, you know, it's okay. Louder Than Hell, or Louder Than Hell, as it's pronounced in the song. Really cool. It's a carryover from Shout at the Devil. Keep Your Eye on the Money's a decent one. Home Sweet Home, obviously the classic ballad. Super cheesy, but you know, still a cool track. Use It or Lose It I really like as well. Does drop off. Raise Your Hands to Rock's probably the weakest track on here. Save Our Souls actually is really cool. Fight for Your Rights I like. Tonight We Need a Lover. Yeah, an enjoyable album. I say it's a little bit lighter sounding than their first two, but still I think it's you know, a very enjoyable album to listen to, and you know, it's got a lot of good memories for me, so therefore that's my number 5, Theatre of Pain from 1985, their third album. My number 4 is their last, probably will end up being their final album as well, Saints of Los Angeles, from 2008. Can't believe it was that long ago. So this is their 9th album. And yeah, I've got a bit of a sneeze coming on, probably can avoid that. Yes, I have. Produced by James Michael, DJ Ashba and Nikki Sixx. They were all members of his band 6 AM. This album's really cool, I think. Really good. It does drop off in the second half, but the first half of the album I think is one of the best halves, one of the best side ones almost, if you like. The intros, by the by, Face Down in the Dirt, really cool track. What's It Gonna Take, really super catchy track. Down at the Whiskey, another really super catchy track, really good. Saints of Los Angeles, the title track, really cool. Motherfucker of the Year, really cool track. The Animal in Me, yeah, really good. And then you've got the second half, which is Welcome to the Machine, which is okay. Just Another Psycho, which I really like. Chicks Equal Trouble, you know, pretty brainless but still cool. This Ain't a Love Song, which is probably my least favourite. White Trash Circus and Going Out Swinging, both decent tracks, but say the first half of it, the first 6 or 7 tracks are, you know, outstanding, really good. If this is their last album, which it looks like it probably will be, because Vince really can't sing for shit these days. Not that he ever really could, but saying that, his solo album, the first one of his, Exposed, is a really strong, excellent album. But yeah, Saints of Los Angeles is my number 4. If you've not really given it much of a listen, I strongly advise you give it a decent listen. If you like Motley Crue, it's an excellent album. So especially the first half of it, I think is some of their strongest tracks that they've ever done. So if the second half was better, it would be, you know, even higher up. So number 4, Saints of Los Angeles. Girls, I've got a number 3, 1987. This is their 4th album. Tom Verman produced once again. Yeah, really cool. Let down by a couple of tracks on this one, but still a strong album. Wild Side, obviously, to start off with, a really classic track. The title track is, you know, overplayed but still cool. And Dancing on Glass is, you know, the first 2 tracks make it like a very strong opening. Bad Boy Boogie is not bad, it's Aerosmith-esque. You've got No No, which is a bit of a ballad, not really much going on in that one. It's written for Nikki Sixx's grandmother, I believe. 5 Years Dead, not bad. All in the Name Of, yes, it's cool. You know, it's a good rock and roll song. Something for Nothing, I really like. You're All I Need is a super cheese ballad, but it's, you know, it's actually okay. Finishes off with a live version of Jailhouse Rock. And this is the expanded version, so it's got a few more bits on there as well. Like Wild Side instrumental and, you know, what have you, instrumental track of Girls, basically instrumental tracks really. Rodeo, which is an unreleased track, and the video of Girls. But anyway, yeah, really I like it. Number 3, Girls, 4th album, 1987. Once again, probably not their most popular. People will be like, oh no, Too Fast for Love, but anyway, whatever. That's my number 3. Number 2, I've got Shout at the Devil. This is their 2nd album from 1983, produced by Tom Verman again. And this was the first album that I owned of Motley Crue. I had the double vinyl gatefold of this, with them looking this is their dodgiest look era. Pretty sparse production on it once again, but it's got some good tracks. Shout at the Devil, obviously, is a classic. Looks That Kill, really cool. Bastard, the instrumental God Bless the Children of the Beast, I do like that. He's got a cover of Helter Skelter, which is not too bad. Red Hot, good track. Too Young to Fall in Love, probably the best one. Knock 'em Dead Kid is decent. 10 Seconds to Love, and then Danger. So yeah, some good stuff on there. This is once again the expanded version. So it's got the demo of Hotter Than Hell, which turned into Louder Than Hell or Louder Than Hell on the next album, and some other demos on there as well. The Looks That Kill video and an unreleased track, I Will Survive. So worth getting the expanded one if you can. But yeah, a good album. I say it's the first one that I actually own, not the first one that I heard, but it's the first one I owned. And yeah, it's a good album, man. I didn't think that I liked it as much as I did, and then I re-listened to it recently, and it was like, oh, actually, no, every song's pretty damn decent. So yeah, very good album, classic album, probably a lot of people's number 1, but for me, it's just my number 2 by a small margin, I would say. And that's their 2nd album from 1983, Shout at the Devil. So my number 1, Dr. Feelgood from 1989. It's their 5th album, produced by Bob Rock. He went on obviously to produce a bunch of awful Metallica albums. Yeah, this one is, I remember when this came out, got this on vinyl when it came out, bought from Tower Records, I remember it well. And yeah, an excellent album. Saw them on this tour as well. They were supported by Skid Row, opened up for them, where they'd just come out with their first album. And then also White Lion, so a fairly decent bill, although Skid Row probably were the best band of the night. Even though Crue were decent, Skid Row certainly blew White Lion away. Like, White Lion did get a little bit of heat from the audience on that night. I like him, I think they're a decent band, but yeah, between Crue and Skid Row, they didn't really go down particularly well. But yeah, tracks on this one: Dr. Feelgood, excellent opener, one of their best tracks ever. Slice of Your Pie, another really cool track, Aerosmith-esque, and Rattlesnake Shake. They've gone for that sort of, Aerosmith had started to become big business again at this point, so a lot of people were going back to that sort of style. Kickstart My Heart, another one of their best tracks. Without You, super cheese ballad, yeah, lets the album down a little bit. Same Old Situation is another cheesy track, but it's catchy. Do you know what I mean? It's very catchy. It's decent. Sticky Sweet's quite good. She Goes Down's a really cool track. Don't Go Away Mad, Just Go Away, that's a really good track as well. And then Time for Change, which is another super cheese ballad at the end, which, yeah, once again, without the two ballads, it would be a stronger album. They're not their best ballads that they've ever done, and they are exceptionally cheesy. But yeah, so that's my number one, Dr. Feelgood. Really good production from Bob Rock on this one, give him his due. And that's their fifth album from 1989. So yeah, deserved number one for me, but you know, only just above Shout at the Devil, to be honest with you, but definitely my number one. So that's it. That's my Crue ranking, and let me know what you think of my Crue ranking. And leave your comments in the comments below. Please don't forget to like the video if you like it, and also subscribe to my channel. I've got a bunch of rankings on here now for you to check out, and obviously more to come, and I really appreciate your support on my channel. So thanks again for watching, and you all take it steady. Take care. Cheers.